Good evening, everyone. Shanaka, over to you.
Yes, thank you very much for that introduction, and again, very sorry for my slight delay on connecting, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Maybe I'll directly go on to the subject matter because we are already slight off late. That's okay, no? The,
Yes, please. Yes,
yeah, sure,
please. And
sure.
what we will do is we will have this conversation going on, and end of the session we will have some Q&A. I will moderate that, and once anybody, if you have any problem, you can put it in the chat. And end of the session, we will discuss this. Is that okay, Shanaka?
Sure. Very good. Thank you.
Yes.
Lal, hope you can see my slide deck.
Yes, I can see very well.
All right, and you can hear me well also, no?
Yes,
Right.
loud and clear.
All right, thank you very much. So yes, so today's session is all about a introduction to some of the concepts and some of the things that we see in the market in terms of project management, and to motivate you how world over why we should use project management. So after talking with a couple of senior people in the institute, we decided, okay, we are going to do this session in a way that will give you some kind of knowledge within a very short time period. We are about 45 minutes. And then, of course, if you want to look at any futuristic things, of course, there's always possibility. So I'll quickly take you through the background to the entire project management, giving you why and how this has evolved up to today. And I also will talk about some of the challenges we face in projects. These are some statistics, and some of them are quite terrible, if you ask me, in a way of project failures around the world. And some of those statistics are quite bad, even at the moment. And then, of course, I'm going to talk about how we have evolved to overcome some of these challenges. I mean, there's plenty of things that project managers does to minimize these kind of challenges or minimize these kind of failures. And also very small touch point into performance management. Again, it's a quite a big area. Performance management itself, I can talk about 2 days if you ask me, but I'm just touching it for about 5-10 minutes just to give you. That's one of the critical things today that we use, again, to overcome challenges and to at least see where you are in the entire project. So that's the lineup for today, due to the limited time that we have. So in terms of a background, if you look at the history of project management, and if you go back to the good old days of great pyramids of Gaza to Great Wall of China, they're amazing projects, if you ask me. We have done massive mammoth projects in the history. And even if you go to Anuradhapura Polonnaruwa, you will see some of these projects are so amazing, and most of them cannot be repeated. If somebody asks you to build another Sigiriya, of course we will not know how to do it, for example, because we have lost that knowledge. If somebody asks you to build a Great Wall of or pyramids of Gaza again, we simply don't know how to do it, because for some reason we have lost. And classic example is Anuradhapura Polonnaruwa, which is very close to us. And if you go there, and if you closely look at some of the things that we have done in the history, and if you look at those, even a simple thing like a stone, you might wonder how did they carry this all the way, because it's mammoth in size. And in that time we never had cranes, for example, but we have done it. And these are mostly called world wonders today, because why we call them world wonders? Because one thing is they are mammoths. Second thing is they survived over years and years and years. Third thing is, well, little knowledge we have, and we ourselves are amazed to see how we did it, and we simply don't have answers to many of those questions. So in the history, mankind has done marvelous projects, mammoth projects. But in between, for some reason, this entire knowledge has been wiped out, erased. And sadly, we don't know how to do it today. But in 1917, we call it's a year of paradigm shift for project management, because a person by the name of Henry Grant introduced this, miracle chart called, Gantt chart or Gantt chart. I'm sure you would have used it. You would have used Microsoft Project to do this, or you would have used a simple Excel sheet to do it, or you would have used an open source software like Project Libre to 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 draw this Gantt chart. Henry Grant actually used this chart for US Navy, but after some time we realized, wow, this is a miracle chart for project managers. And today almost 90% of project managers use this chart when he or she is managing the project, and it has become a miracle tool to all of us. That's the paradigm shift. And today, for some reason, we are relying on that so much. Even I myself rely on this so much to manage the project in the best possible way. Some of us even call this as a project plan. Of course, that terminology is wrong. It's called a project. It should have been called a project schedule, but sometimes we call it as a project plan itself. But project plan apparently is more than that, and the schedule is only a subset of that entire plan. After that, there have been many successful projects around the world. I can talk many projects around the world, but one project which teaches a lot of things is 1931's Hoover Dam project. I'll talk about it in the next set of slides. Again, I thought with the limited time, I will only talk about Hoover Dam. And also we have learned some of the lessons in a painful way. Again, you know we have learned lessons out of failures. Some of them are mammoth failures, and I'll talk about a case study also on that failure and how we learned it, and we took a decision that we will never ever repeat these kind of mistakes in the future. So it is also a lesson, even though we have failed. So we have come a long way today, but only thing is, sadly, we have erased loads of knowledge as of today. And we are trying to now build that knowledge. So again, PMI, some of you will know, I don't want to talk about much about PMI. That's not the objective, but just to set the stage. PMI was incorporated in 1969 in a view that we should never ever lose our project management knowledge again. Four great project managers set this up in 1969. One of them are still living in North America. They set it up in 1969. We celebrated 50th birthday in 2019, just before COVID, actually. I myself was at Philadelphia in PMI headquarters to celebrate 50 years of existence. It was a nice occasion. And why we celebrated? Because in 50 years, we have become very big. We are almost present in almost every country in the world today. We have become the world's uh, most accredited project management body. We have become the most knowledge gathering as well as educational institution in terms of project management as of today. The credentials that we hold, called PMP or ACP, is world's number one as of today. So we incorporated PMI Colombo chapter about 15 years ago. It was headed by the 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 ex CEO of Mobitel, Lalit De Silva, managed to bring PMI to Sri Lanka, convince USA that you should open up a chapter in Colombo 15 years ago, and we are very thankful for Lalit De Silva, ex CEO of Mobitel, to bring PMI to Colombo, Sri Lanka. It functions as an independent body today, and we have large number of members. So if you are passionate about project management, you should join PMI and go for a long way. I joined PMI in 2007, and I was blessed with a lot of advantages being part of PMI, and basically I managed to shape my um, uh, work very well with this support of PMI. I don't work for PMI though, but I'm a volunteer at PMI. I work for Ernst Young. Right. So we see a lot of challenges in projects, and those challenges are the very reasons why we tend to fail in between. These are the very reasons. If Lal, can you give me some feedback? Hope I'm very audible.
Yes, Shanaka, you are audible,
Thank you very
clear.
much. Thank you very much. So, some of the challenges are, our failures are so big. If you look at, there's one organization which kind of tracks project failures. It's called Standish Incorporation in US. So Standish produce a report annually called Project Chaos Report. My report is slightly old, but nothing much improved from 2016 to today, to tell you frankly. And Standish report, you need to buy this report, but of course, abstracts are available in internet. So as of today, if you really look at, we kind of fail about 75% of our projects world over is going through a failure. Is it good? Terribly bad, sorry. So 75% of our projects world over kind of goes through a failure, So this entire lot, in a way, if you look at what I'm marking here, is all about failures, That's a terrible mark, They all fail in a way, Only about 30% projects, so 70% ranks as failures, 30% are succeeded. In projects, how we decide it's a failure or a success is by using three critical ingredients. They are called scope, time, and cost. In your degree days, you would have learned this. We call this as the golden triangle of a project, or some project managers call this as the iron triangle of a project. PMI call this as the triple constraints of a project. Triple constraints. Triple is three. Constraints means limitations. These are the three greatest limitations in a project. What do you mean by limitation? We don't have all the time in the world to execute a project. Time is a limitation. We have to produce the results in a limited time. Cost is a limitation. We don't have all the money in the world to complete a project. There is always a budget, which is a limitation. We cannot produce an unlimited scope. Scope has to be limited. Otherwise we will never be able to finish. So these three works hand in hand. Sometimes they are called competing constraints. Why we call them as competing constraint is, if one changes, other automatically changes. For example, if the scope increases, time will automatically increases. When time increases, cost will automatically increase. So there's a relationship, there's a binding, or there's a fight between these three. That's where the projects start, derailing, failing. And these three are very critical. If you miss one, again, this is an important point. If you miss one, whether you like it or not, the project will be recorded in the books of failure. That's the world standard. You might wonder, come on, we are an island nation. We are an island. We are islanders. We love enjoyment. So time is not critical for us. You might tell me, if I finish a 12 months project in 14 months, my boss will be more than happy. I have never completed a 12 months project in 12 months. you know, but Germans don't think like that. Today, Middle East don't think like that. For them, time is a very critical factor. Delaying a project by 1 day is like delaying a project by 1 year for them. It's very, very critical. We call this as, it's a window of opportunity. We say a project is all about a window of opportunity. What do you mean by window of opportunity? It means you need to complete it on the day that you promise. Every day that you delay, the benefits out of that project will be diminishing, reducing. So time is a critical factor. I'll tell you one good example for this. This is a real world project. Toyota realized the US people are crazy over something called a green vehicle, which we also call eco vehicle. Toyota realized this. Toyota's biggest market share is United States, apparently. That's their biggest market, Toyota's biggest market. So in 1994, this was a real case study. In 1994, Toyota decided, first time in the history, to build a vehicle that could be powered by two energy sources. We call it two alternative channels. All this time, we powered a vehicle with one channel of energy, which is either petrol, diesel, or electricity. In 1994, we had electric cars like Leaf. We had Leaf in 1994. We even had Tesla in 1994, right? But we never had a vehicle that could be powered using two energy sources. One is petrol, and the second one is electricity. So Toyota decided to build a vehicle which could be powered by two energy sources and therefore becomes more efficient. And they call it a green car. That's how Toyota marketed it. And then you realize Americans are crazy over this. It's a massive mammoth project because we have never done it before. And Toyota's target was to capture the United States market in a big time. And Toyota started this project in 1994. Moment Toyota started, Honda also realized, my God, our biggest market share is also United States. And if Toyota comes first, we're going to lose out of this market share. So Honda also started the same project in 1994. So two competitors having one objective, one target to produce an alternative fueled vehicle, which is today called hybrid. And Toyota completed it in 1997. Toyota completed this project in 1997. 3 years, Toyota managed to build the first vehicle that could be powered using two channels. But Honda delayed it. Honda completed it only in 2002, 5 years delay. With a slightly, I would say Toyota's technology was much superior at that initial attempt over Honda. I'm sure you understand this, you know. So Toyota took the market share. And Toyota today claims 30% of their revenue comes from the hybrid line of business. By the way, Toyota's annual earnings are more than our entire country's earnings. You can understand. Toyota can buy us without much of a problem. So anyway, that's the window of opportunity, for example. So how time becomes very critical, even though as a country, we don't have this sense of urgency in projects. That's very sad. Sense of urgency in projects are very, very critical. In most of the successful countries, you see this, and successful companies, you see this. Toyota is one company which we ourselves have learned a lot of things in project management. We learn a lot of things from Toyota, and we practice them in our project management practices, what we have learned from Toyota. Anyway, in terms of a summary, this 70% failures you see here, 70% failures you see here is failures that you don't meet either time, cost, or scope. That's terrible. Out of which 25% or 24 rather, never see the light at the end of the tunnel. We say you started a project, but you never see the deliverables out of it. It is failed. You file a court case, go to court and settle it over. But almost near 50%, which we call as challenged, is your customer will sacrifice, because once the customer start a project, we say he's at the mercy of the supplier. So your customer sacrifice. When you want additional time, customer will give you additional time. When you sometimes want additional money, customer will give you additional money because he's at the mercy to finish this. He did not start a project to go to courts, put a to put a case and then to sue you. He wants the result. So he's going to sacrifice. So world over, you can see the number is quite big, guys. 50% of our projects are failed, but your customer will sacrifice, give you more time than the originally allocated time, or sometimes give you more money than what customer has originally promised you, or can do both of this, allocate more time and money, because he's very keen to see the result at the end of the day. Even though he has signed a contract, even though he can go to courts, even though he can sue you, he takes the other way around and he say, well, please finish it. Here's your additional money. Here's your additional time. For God's sake, finish it and never come back to do other projects with us. World over. These statistics are world over. Almost 50% of the projects your customer sacrifices. Well, Standish went to one step ahead to figure out, why this magnitude of failures. And they realized 36% of our failures are purely because organizations never practice project management. They never inculcate project management practices within the organization. Most of their managers use general management practices to manage projects, and it will never work. It will never work. And that contributes to quite a large amount of failures, 36% out of all, because of not having good, proper project management practices. Another 20% is you don't define the scope properly. Sometimes as Sri Lankans, we purposely do this. We purposely define the scope badly because we believe අරුට දෙන්නම් වැඩේ සප්ලයිට දීලා කොහොමරි මේක කරගන්න ඕන. It will backfire on you at the end of the day. So objectives, scope has to be defined perfectly. Otherwise, again, your project might fail. So statistics are not good. Well, on a positive note, of course, we are improving, but the improvement is slow. These are some of the ratings world over. In US, a sample of 175,000 IT projects, particularly the statistics is for IT projects with a budget of 250 billion US dollars. You can imagine if we have this, how many years we would have survived. We have 53% of overspend by 89%. Our schedules have a schedule overrun of about 82%. In Europe, the project failures as of today amounts to about 142 billion pounds. Our neighbor, India, has a ministry, government ministry focused on project management because they do large infrastructure projects. And they say 40% of their projects has a delay over 21 years. These are quite bad, But the best part is, at least these countries know how they fail, why they fail. So hopefully, going forward, they will definitely improve this. But if you don't have these statistics, if you don't know why you fail, in first place, if you don't know that you will fail, you will never be able to improve. Every day you will be failing. And that's the fate of us, to tell you frankly. I'm sure not most of you, but majority of the people I know, that's the fate. We don't know whether they are failed or pass because we don't have that statistics. We don't have enough tools to measure whether we succeed or fail in a project. And if you don't have that indication, you will never be able to improve going forward. Then we looked at, what are these challenges? And you saw one critical thing is we don't have objectives in projects properly defined. We don't have goals in projects properly defined. On top of it, we even don't have a proper scope defined. And our project managers apparently don't take accountability. This word is very important, guys. Even sometimes we say, you are responsible. But we never use say we never used to say you are accountable for this project. Accountability is much more bigger than responsibility. You know, accountability is you are liable in good times as well as in bad times. Accountability means you as a project manager, your head is on the chopping board. If something goes wrong, you will be the first to move out of the project. And we see a big lack. Very sad, this country has this problem. We see a very big lack in accountability. I mean, I'll just to share with you one of my experience. I work with other countries very closely through Ernst Young. We do large scale projects across the region, across many other countries, and you should see how other project managers takes the accountability. You know, uh, I had a friend in Dubai, for example, working for one of the largest hotel development projects. And he said, when he came to Sri Lanka for a short visit, he said, I wanted 2,500 doors into this hotel. 2,500 doors, where there's 2,500 rooms. Well, not 2,500 rooms, but altogether 2,500 doors. And they particularly wanted a type of wood uh, from Indonesia for these doors, Then apparently in the last moment when they try to make that order, this company has been bankrupted and they could not source this particular door. If this happens in Sri Lanka, this will be all escalated to the steering committee or the procurement committee, and this has been going around, and this probably would have taken a delay of about 1 year to solve it. But here he said in Dubai, you are accountable to solve it. They give you all the authority, but you need to make sure the dose comes on time. There's no second words. So he told me he had about sleepless nights or about 2 weeks to find the same dough from other vendors, and he's accountable. His job was at stake if he could not do it. So that's the accountability. And whether we like it or not, project manager is solely accountable for this. Whether we like it or not. That's the way the project management works, whether we like it or not. And also, we don't estimate. We are very weak in estimation, which is very bad. Most of our projects, we don't estimate cost accurately. We don't estimate time. We, in fact, park a big buffer to this. And most of our projects, even we eat up the entire buffer and making it a loss. That's very sad. There are a lot of scientific methods today to estimate this properly, which we don't do for some reason. And some of the projects are so unique. If you ask me, this Toyota's, I'm just telling the same example. Toyota's introduction of the first hybrid vehicle was so unique because we have never ever done it before. And when the projects are unique, sometimes failure is inevitable. We built the world's biggest airline. In 1970, we did the first biggest airline called 747. Still flies. Boeing did it. It was so unique. Even today, it flies. We built it in 1970. Even today, many airlines use 747. Our parents used to call this as jumbo jet because it was so big. In 2005, we managed to break that record by introducing Airbus A380, introduced by Airbus, the European counterparty, introduced this. These are so unique, and there's 101 chances to fail this. And again, sometimes monitoring and control becomes impossible. Some projects are very risky, and today one of the biggest challenges for us is cost is unpredictable. That also leads to challenges and failures. And sadly, again, most of our customers always wants additional things. We call it scope creep. Scope creep is very bad. asking for change orders, and we have challenges in teamwork sometimes. Sometimes we don't work as a team. Projects are all about teamwork, and we have politics, conflicts, religious problems to ethnic problems. All this contributes apparently to project failures. So how do we overcome this? Do we have any tools, or is it our gut feeling? Well, apparently we have scientific tools. Maybe I'll take a quick pause to check with Lala or anybody whether you can hear me well, because I apparently don't see the background screen.
Yes, yes, loud and clear, very well.
Thank you very much. We today have many tools and techniques to overcome. Due to the time limitation, I will only talk about few things. Our traditional practice of project management is called waterfall. Waterfall is a sequential approach, in the sense we do, for example, we first do the feasibility. From there we do the analysis of the requirement, we do the designing of the solution, then we basically build it, and then we basically test it to see whether everything is in order, and then we hand over it and we maintain it. Usually this entire cycle happens in a sequential manner, and you will see the product almost towards the end. But today, certain industries are changing this sequential approach to a much more successful approach called agile. One biggest advantage is, in the previous traditional approach, we saw the product towards the end. But here in agile, we started seeing partial products from the beginning, and it's kind of incremental. Through the cycle, it has been built incrementally. And the success of that is customer sees a value at the beginning, and that value will evolve throughout the project life cycle. Now, this has pretty well worked for knowledge worker projects today. When I say knowledge worker projects, at least about 90-95% the projects is driven by the knowledge. Like, for example, software development projects, consulting projects, educational projects, professional, like the architect, doctors, professional projects. These are all knowledge driven projects, because 90-95% raw material to the project is knowledge. We are trying for non-knowledge driven projects like construction industry, engineering industry, because they have a lot of raw material apart from the knowledge. So you don't use 90-95% of your knowledge, because raw material plays a major role in the entire project life cycle. So we are trying in other industries like manufacturing, construction, to other practices of engineering other than software engineering. It's coming there. But we believe pretty soon agile will take over. So it's evolving. We started agile in 2001. We are just 20 years old. We started this apparently in 1970. So we are 50 years old on this, by the way, 50 plus years, So it has evolved so much. So agile is a newborn baby, 2001. And we are trying to evolve various different industries. We are trying, but this is a good move. We have seen worldwide, the failures have drastically reduced wherever we use agile, because we see a working product at the beginning of the project. Now you might wonder how the hell we to do it. I won't go into the details, but if anybody is interested, you have a nice tool called YouTube. You can easily go and search, and all this will be there very nicely. Second important thing is, you might wonder, why do we use tools in estimating? We don't estimate the cost. Can you hear me live?
Yeah, there are some disturbance. I think now it is okay. You can continue.
Can hear, yeah.
Okay.
Display is gone.
Yeah, 1 minute. I hope now it's okay.
Yeah, now it's okay.
Sure. Hope you can see my screen now also.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, yes.
All right. Sure. A few minutes ago, I said, one of the weak points that we do is we don't estimate the cost accurately. We don't estimate the time accurately. And I said there are tools, scientific tools to do that. Like, for example, analogous estimation, parametric estimation, 3-point estimation. Those are the tools, you know. And the whole idea of using those is to make sure that your estimation becomes more accurate. But the problem is, why do you want to do it? You know, can't I do it without using any of this science? Well, you can do it. Sometimes we do that. But the problem is your accuracy will be quite low in that case. In this example, you know, a sniper can shoot the target even without tools, but the hit rate would be quite low, like 30%. But if the sniper improves this gun by various tools like this, the hit rate will be much more, 60%. So that simple tool made it from 30 to 60%. That's what tools are all about. If I want to improve it further, I can rely on more tools, more science in managing my project, and maybe I can hit 80% of the target now. That's the whole objective of putting tools. Now, if I ask you, uh, does anybody here use a tool called WBS? I'm going to show you a WBS later on. Anybody use a tool called WBS, work breakdown structure? I'm sure
No.
about 70% will say no, right? So if you don't use WBS, definitely your time and cost will be inaccurate. Definitely, there's no other words to it. Any book will tell you about this. So WBS is a tool. You can do projects without it. You can do projects without it. But the repercussion is, if you don't use WBS, definitely guaranteed your cost and time estimation would be wrong. That's a fact, right? So that's why we use tools then and there to improve it. We spoke about triple constraints. I'm sure you would have heard this project, Sydney Opera House. If you go to Australia, one place that you will never miss. Yeah. It's a world wonder, ranked as world wonder today. We completed it in 1973, by the way. Every project management book talks about Sydney Opera House. Why? Because sadly, this is one of our greatest failures in the history of project management. This is one of our greatest failures. You might say, come on. Few minutes ago, you said it's a world wonder. If you go to Australia, this is one place that you will never miss to watch. And why the hell you're telling it's one of our greatest failures? Well, Sydney Opera House was originally estimated to be built for 10 million US dollars and originally estimated 4 years. $10 million escalated to 102 million US dollars. It's not 100% escalation, it is 10 times escalation. Can you believe that? You might wonder why. What happened? How come a $10 million project ended in $102 million. And you will also have a question, who the hell wanted to spend this money? It's the same example I told you before. Your customer, which is the Australian government, became helpless at one point. They're at the mercy of the party who builds it. I mean, there were so many reasons for this cost escalation, and there's so much of articles around it. You can look at it, right? But it has happened, right? And Australian government finally said, let's not worry about things like return on investment. Let's not worry about things like payback period. මේ වචන අපි පාවිච්චි කරන හොගක් projects වල return on investment, payback period. Let's not worry about net present value. Let's not worry about internal rate of return of a project. These are all financial ratios, by the way, where we look at in projects. So Australian government said, don't worry about it. Let's build a monument, to tell the world that we are Australians, and they spent. It's a nice project. It's a world wonder, but one of our greatest failures. We could not meet the timeline. Time is a triple constraint. We could not meet the cost. Well, cost is also part of the triple constraint. We learn a lot out of it, and hope we will never do these mistakes again. But the beauty is, the outcome, the opera house still stands. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful. But in terms of projects, we always say, well, very sorry. It's one of our greatest failures. On the other hand, Hoover Dam is one of our greatest successes, if you look at. We started, actually, United States started Hoover Dam with a big objective. In 1931, United States wanted to build the biggest entertainment city in the world, which is called Las Vegas. We learned a lot of lessons out of Hoover Dam, very, very important projects. So United States wanted to build the biggest entertainment city in the world called Las Vegas. And Las Vegas wanted a lot of energy. At that time, US did not have nuclear power plants. So United States wanted to build the biggest, tallest, and the heaviest dam in the world. Hoover Dam was the biggest, tallest, and the heaviest dam in the world, in 1931. And they hired one of the best dam builders in the world called Frank Crowe, a French dam builder at that time. And this was around Nevada and Arizona border. And there's no seasons in this part of United States. Average temperature is between 42 to 45 centigrades, quite hot, And Frank Crowe was asked to build the biggest, tallest, and the heaviest dam in the world. Frank Crowe and the United States team looked at this mammoth project. There's a nice case study on all these guys. If you are passionate, you can read it. YouTube has a lot of videos on it. You should watch it. I'm just giving you only a brief, with the limited time. So Frank Crowe, being one of the best dam builders in the world, decided we could build Hoover Dam in 6 years. In 1931, not today. In 1931, originally estimated 6 years to build the world's biggest, tallest, and the heaviest. You might wonder why we call it heaviest. Because Hoover Dam consumed 6 million tons of cement. Quite a lot. 6 million tons of cement. And 1931, cement particularly had an inherent problem. And you as construction engineers call this as curing time of cement. We as general public might call it as the hardening time of cement. Inherently, cement take time to harden. In 1931, it really did. And 6 million tons of cement would have taken quite a lot of time to harden itself. It's very tall. Actually, it's not the tallest dam today, but in 1931 it was. But with all these constraints, Franco decided 6 years. And United States government said, fine, Hoover Dam is to power Las Vegas, and we have 6 years. No problem, you can do it. They signed one of the most motivational contracts. Project has a lot of types of contracts. This particular contract is called cost plus incentive contract. I'm sure you would have heard some of the private sector companies sign this cost plus incentive contract, which means I will pay you all the cost, plus I'm going to give you a bonus, a carrot, based on a particular performance objective. And United States objective was the time itself. So they said, fine, Franco, if you finish it in 6 years, we will give you an additional 1 million US dollars. That's quite a lot of money at that time. If you finish it in 6 years, your incentive for this project is 1 million US dollars. And the contract also said, but by any chance, if you manage to finish it in 5 years, we will make it 3 million US dollars. But by any chance, if you can finish it in 4 years, we will make it 5 million US dollars. This type of a contract is called cost plus incentive contracts. Very famous around the world. It motivates the supplier. United States had a vision. They wanted to open the Las Vegas as fast as possible. So if the Hoover Dam can be built in 4 years, Las Vegas could have been opened in 4 years. And for US, paying $5 million to Franco is nothing, because they are going to earn that in a couple of weeks after opening Las Vegas. That was the vision. And from Franco's side, he decided, this would be my last dam. I will never ever work again. I will go on a premature retirement. So Franco worked on a timeline to achieve 4 years. So we built Hoover Dam in 4 years. World's tallest, biggest, and the heaviest dam, 1931 to 1935, Hoover Dam. And Franco received 5 million. He never worked after that. He never built dams thereafter. He went for an early retirement. Now, the first lesson out of it is the power of the contract. Sometimes when we sign contracts, we always want to kill the supplier, But in this particular project, we never thought like that. It's a win-win situation. You do it, I will pay, And it happened very well. That's number one. Number two is a miracle thing. The hardening time of cement in project management is called a lag. It's a wasted time. If you have to wait till cement hardening, it's a wasted time in project management. We know nature demands it. Of course, nature demands it. Cement demands a time to harden itself, but it's a wasted time. So Franco decided, if I can bring this lag to zero or near zero, I can easily finish this project in 4 years. Because 6 million tons takes a lot of time to harden itself. So if I can figure out a mechanism to harden cement instantly, I will overcome the challenge of completing this project in 4 years. And that's what Franco did. That's the time they found all these chemicals, which you use today called clinker and all that. Well, I'm not a construction engineer, but that's the time they found. And Hoover Dam still stands, guys. We are almost reaching 100 years to Hoover Dam. It still stands. It still generates electricity. Of course, Las Vegas is no more powered from Hoover Dam today because they have, nuclear power plants. But it's still working, and still vehicles could travel on top of it. For example, I myself visited Hoover Dam a couple of years back. Very beautiful, So this is a success story, and we learned many lessons, out of which the two greatest lesson is, how do you fight lags, unwanted time? Nature demands it, but if you can fight it over it, that's the best thing you can do. Second is the power of contract. So apart from that, we use a very nice process and approach. in this approach, again, I will not go into much details. When you're doing a project, one of the critical elements is the WBS. I'm sure you know the WBS, work breakdown structure, where you bring the project to the deliverables, to the work packages, and you follow a scientific mechanism called decomposition to build it. Even though this sounds very difficult, it's very, very easy once you get used to it. This is kind of mandatory, guys. I said 70 to 80% of project managers in this country never do it. If you don't do it, still you can finish the project, but you won't be able to succeed because your cost and time will never be accurate. These are some of the examples of WBS. It's quite important to build a WBS and bring that WBS to your Gantt chart. This is the famous Gantt chart I told you at the beginning. you know so the art of the game is build a WBS, bring it inside your schedule, which you can do, and it takes only 5 minutes to bring the Gantt chart to your schedule. And if you have learned Microsoft project, you will know how to do it within just 5 minutes, maximum 5 minutes time. you know and of course, we do things like more tools that we use is called milestone chart. Milestone is a significant progress point in a project, and every milestone has deliverables, as you know, and deliverables are linked to payments, as you know. So it goes as a chain, from activities to milestones to deliverables to payments. And we usually create something called milestone chart. We're very easy to monitor, very easy to, that's another tool that we use. And of course, we used to monitor the critical path. Some project managers believe critical path is the shortest path. They're wrong. Critical path is the longest path in a network diagram or your project schedule. Every activity in the critical path will define your project duration. And it's very important to monitor this critical path, because during the execution, the critical path might shift. A new critical path might be born. I'm sure most of you would have experienced this. Good. I'm at the end. Sorry, I think I've taken a little bit more time. Sorry about it. Last slide. Performance management is critical. We use a old school performance management technique. If we use a traffic light color coded system. We have red, we have orange, we have green. That's how we indicate the performance of a project. If a activity is green, means that God is with you. Nothing has gone wrong. Everything is a perfect thing. Every day is a perfect day. Green can ek hai. Orange means, well, some of the activities have deviated, but God is still with me. Well, I can basically take care of it. I can still, take the project back to track. That's orange. Red means, my God is not there with me. I have derailed, and no matter whatever I do, I cannot get it back to track. I will have definitely a delay. My cost will have a definitely an increase, for example. That's the old school way of monitoring project performance. We are moving out of this, guys. Why? Well, this has not worked for us. I don't know for you. This has never worked for me. Until the last 2 weeks in the project, everything was green. And the last 2 weeks, my God, things are turning into red. Too late. Too late. This performance management has never worked. So the world has shifted today, right, to one of the best mathematical based performance management system called earned value management. We have many formulas, guys. Two formulas are very critical, which we call as SPI, CPI. SPI stands for Schedule Performance Index, is usually equals to EV divided by PV, for example. Some of you will know this, EV divided by AC. EV is earned value, PV is planned value, AC is actual cost of a project. These are all mathematics. So we integrate the triple constraints again. This is where I started today, and I'm going to end also from here, because these are the three legs that you really need to take care in your project: cost, time, and scope. So we integrate these three items. Integrate these three items. And we take the baseline of this. Baseline is your original promise. And we measure it against the actuals. Against the actual. And with that, we can get into a lot of mathematics. By the way, these are all, even though you see S curves here, in project management, we basically takes it to a linear curve and apply O-level maths. Because most of the project managers only know O-level maths. So, but there are a lot of formulas, guys. And this could give you a much more forecasted indications on a original 12 months project. On a 12 months project, on the third month, it can tell you will never be able to finish in 12 months. You need 15.5 months to finish it. It could go on up to that accuracy, guys. Now, if you are keen on this, you know what to do. Go to YouTube, search for earned value management. You will see plenty of videos. Or go to Amazon, search for earned value management. You will see plenty of articles. Or go to Google, search earned value management. You will see a lot of PhD research papers on this. This is one of our greatest techniques today. Project performance management, or simply in your language, project performance, or project progress, or project status on another way. We have many measurements. Again, I did not want to go into details. EAC, estimate at completion. It was BAC killer. BAC stands for budget at completion. VAC stands for variance at completion. There are a lot of formulas to each of them. And using those formulas, you can plot these graphs, and these graphs has a greater meaning. And this is the technique that we use today in most of the Western projects, because that old school traffic light color code system has never worked for us. This is a pure mathematical platform. So maths cannot go wrong. Maths cannot go wrong. We tell you everything in maths, everything, each and everything in mathematics. Great. So I thought I'll finish it with this slide. Apparently, with all this, it's a teamwork. One of the greatest things we lack, apparently, projects is all about teamwork. I run about 10 to 12 projects, a minimum, per year. I have many project managers under me. Most of the projects I run is onto large scale information systems, to process re-engineering in organizations, to things related to cybersecurity. So it's the teamwork that really works. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, Shanaka. Now the questions. If you have any questions, please raise. Yes, Mr. Lal. Yeah, please.
It's a very good presentation, and about the project management, for all of us to learn. Apparently, these are the projects that you mentioned are very large scale projects.
Yeah.
And certainly it is good for a country, because what we as engineers, we do only small scale projects, which we cannot apply this kind of thing. But what do you think, the decision making and about the type of project that has been taken in Sri Lanka, you mentioned about failure. I think I have seen most of them are failures, I don't know. Can you comment on that one a little bit?
Our failure rate is about 95% in Sri Lanka, as per the data that we know. Sadly, the problem is I think the problem is not about failures. Projects meant to fail. So I think you can't remove that from the equation, because every project is risky. So there's always an element of failure. The problem here what we have is we don't know whether it's failed or not. That's very bad. So when we don't know whether it's failure or not, we will never take action to improve. So our practices remain so static, and once we failed, if we don't know we failed, the next one also we will fail. But most of the successful organizations, if you look at around the world, who practice projects, the lessons learned is very, very critical. So once you fail, I mean, you don't take it as a wrong thing, but you do a lessons learned and try to understand why, what went wrong, and then you make sure that it will never be repeated again. So lessons learned is quite important, and I think majority of the firms does not practice. And also, Lal, one comment, most of the things I told can be easily implemented, even though it might sound big. For example, the projects that I do are quite small to medium level projects. I don't do large scale projects like what I explained, but I just gave you those examples. But majority of what I said can be easily implemented. Like, for example, the last one, project performance management. Today, Mobitel has implemented very successfully in the entire network engineering projects. So if anybody is interested, I can link you up with Mobitel, and they can talk about, they have been implementing this for about 4 years now. So very successful. And University of Moratuwa civil engineering department, under those days Professor Ashoka Perra, very good friend of mine, they have implemented an entire platform for this project performance management. So automatically SPI, CPI calculates for construction projects under this. So a lot of work has been done, just that sometimes we don't know it, but these have been used and can be used if you really look at. I mean, just that we have to have that discipline um, into the projects. And sometimes I have seen the biggest challenge is, where do we start? That starting project apparently is very, very difficult. But if you can start somewhere small, this will go automatically, because people will realize the benefits or the value out of this.
Thank you, Shanaka. There is a question from Chula. Yes, please. Chula. Chula, you have raised your hand. Okay, the next question is, there is a question from Mr. Fernando. Question is, as you said, teamwork is important. Could you provide tips on how a project manager could tackle or deal with people that are difficult to work with and improve teamwork? I think it's related to Sri Lanka. I mean, the
context.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a very simple thing that I do. I mean, these are very common. Some people, people are diverse, I would say. Some people comes with attitude. Some people can only talk, they cannot work. So one of the things that has always worked is, for most of my critical projects, of course my customer pays for all this, so I'm in a way blessed in a way. But I always believe in a outbound leadership training. So I take the entire team out for 1 or 2 day sessions. You need to find a good well, I'm not the best person for that, but I take services from others, and some good leadership qualities. And I must tell you, this cohesion among the team will retain at least for 6-7 months. The team will be very cohesive after this 1 day or 2 day outbound training, but it has to be done. You need to disconnect all the rest, and then that entire day out, you work as a team, you get all this challenging work to do. And if the trainer is good, he will make sure that cohesion is automatically built. And once they come back to the office, you will see they're different animals altogether. And they are very cohesive, very kind of team building already happened, and the rest of the project time, goes very smoothly, which I have seen. So that's one thing that has worked. Of course, in books, I can talk a lot about your question, but I'm just telling practically, sometimes in this culture, those things will never work. But this has really worked actually for me.
Thank you, Shanaka. Any other questions?
Yeah, Ajit, can I come in?
Yeah, yes, please.
Yeah. Shanaka, when you mentioned
Yes.
Hoover Dam, the accelerated Mahavali came into my mind.
Yes, I know.
I wonder what kind of project management has been practiced in that.
We actually
I wasn't involved in it in any way. I was there before those. But that would be a very good example of a project which I think finally we succeeded, but I don't know what
exactly.
dimensions.
Exactly. We actually, as a chapter, we try to gather a lot of details on this, but sadly, we could not find much about the Mahavali and the rest of the projects, because those are super projects. We were trying so much to reach out to various departments to I understand details of these projects, some of these large scale projects, what happened in Sri Lanka. Sadly, information is not available with anyone unless we really tap into the main project manager who handled this, which we failed to do actually. So that's that. Those I think we as a country has done many of these projects. Sometimes even though with greatest difficulty, but only thing is there's no one place where we can find that info. So we fail to find much about these kind of projects.
Thank you.
Okay, that's great. Any other questions?
One more from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I lost the contact because my wife changed the UPS to other one, so I lost the doesn't matter. Now, looking at the projects in Sri Lanka, some projects in the past they did very well in the government. Some
Yes.
projects are bad, and that's why the country in a very bad situation right now. No, at least we as professionals, is there a way that we can contribute our knowledge and way of advising these decision makers how to do what and correct project? Now, even just see when the monorail came, and it was a very fine project, I believe, because it was a very low interest and could have finished it in 2 years, and by now we would have, if that gone, we would have had not this problem. But somebody comes and give a wrong decision, and
Yeah.
the whole country, whole nation goes. So in a way, we are engineers. We meet like this and we discuss, we learn. But is there a way that we can contribute to the government in a serious manner?
I think very, very important point, Lal. I also am attached to one of the biggest railway projects. So just to talk about it, this was a ADB fund of 4.5 billion US dollars for 39 railway projects. This entire program was called Railway Transformation. Because after British, we haven't done a single thing, single thing to improve. So ADB funding was for 39 projects, 4.5 billion US dollars, and one is the LRP project that we have been talking. Second is the railway ticketing. How difficult it is to buy a railway ticket. And the third is electrifying uh, Kalutara to Colombo lines. Fourth is electrifying Kalani Valley and having it 2 lane all the way up to Ratnapura. Fourth is Jaffna Colombo train for 2.5 hours, 2.5 hour train, Jaffna Colombo. So these are like that. We have 39 of this in the master plan. I want one of them, that is to re-engineer entire railway and have a extremely powerful information system uh, to connect all the stations to connect the internal revenue to the land monitoring to get the revenue, and then to connect the entire global ticketing system of the railway, which will work with mobiles, and also fantastic roadmap, if you ask me. So I'm still doing that project. COVID slowed it down, but I have the blessings of ADB and the GMR, General Manager Railway, very positive. He was a PMP student, by the way. He came to my programs, the new General Manager Railway. So very, very supportive. So he knows project management. So so this is very sad. What you said is very, very sad. And majority of these projects out of this program are now not moving, because railway is something that we could do wonders. So with all this, some time ago, we tried to tell the government to have a project manage national PMO, for example. India has it, a national PMO, national level project management office to manage all the government sector projects, to monitor, to control, and have authority to make these projects a success, not to break these projects. So the PMO will have all the funding, all the authority to monitor these projects, and to make sure that they go all the way until the benefits are reached, because most of our projects stops in between. So apparently we spend a lot of money, but the benefits will never come out. Nobody's interested on this. So then we reached out to many ministers, including the previous president, because he had a lot of vision on this, but no action taken place, because we had the support of India as well. So India said, we will do it free. We will set it up. We will bring that knowledge, because they have already done that through PMI. We did, because PMI is very big in India, but then nothing took place. So this is very sad, I think. Like you said, the monorail project, very, very sad. And when we go to other countries, you feel how sad, how sad we should be. Actually, we should be crying, actually.
At least he must make a policy that when one with a project management team, once a
Yeah,
decision is done,
it
whatever
should
the
be taken.
government come, it should not get changed.
Exactly.
Some positive thing that it should continue. That's how the
Yes,
country is.
yes, exactly.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah.
Sure, Lal, sure.
Thank you. We are shooting out from our limited timing, so we will take the last question from Mr. Prabhash.
Hello, Shanaka, this is Lasanta.
Yes.
Shanaka, as you said, most of the, even not only the government sector, even the private sector, of course, most of the giant company, they are not believing project management. Instead of project management, they are believing their rule of thumbs and their general management to
Very
implement
correct.
the project.
Yes.
So what is your opinion to convert them to the right track? Because I know I'm working with some of the multinational company. They are also working in the same passion. So they are talking about the project management, but they are working in a very different way. So most of the managers, they think, my way is highway. So I believe my way. So, but ultimately they couldn't achieve the goal. If they can't achieve the goal, what will happen is they blame to others. Okay, this fellow didn't support to us, that party didn't support to us, something like that. So what is your opinion to convert these people to the right track?
Yeah, I think very good question. So I think I'm sorry to say like this, but I think අපේ මේ ජානවල ප්‍රශ්නයක් තියෙන මෙතන. We are very much undisciplined set of people, as you very correctly said. We usually don't like to go with a disciplined practice. But if a Suddha is around, we will always you know we at least pretend we are disciplined, and we will try to abide with it. But if we are trying to do something, it will be very so. Again, my conclusion is it's a problem with our so-called the mankind in this country, because we don't want to be so disciplined. But of course, the private sector, because it's a kind of most of these are KPI driven, I see an improvement. So I'm seeing, I myself does a lot of sessions. Even like couple of weeks back, I did for entire Fentons, for example, the engineering team. I did for Tudave construction recently. I see a lot of positive vibes, and I see a lot of changes, particularly at this time when we are finding it so difficult. This is a good time also to iron out all what you do bad and try to see how to operate with the least amount of cost rather than wasting. Wasting is one of the biggest elements in most of our projects, the wastage, and we park it to the customer, but as a nation we are losing out of that. So I think we have to improve this discipline in number one, which I see at least up to a greater extent private sector has started. But as you said, of course, it is also not perfect. We are going there. Hopefully, uh, we will improve. But other than that, I don't know how else. I mean, as an individual, we have to change. I mean, as an individual, we have to start using these practices. If you, like you said, if you use general management practices into project management, all this will be temporary. I mean, you will end the project, but the results would be bad. It will never be a success at the end of the day.
Okay, thank you very much, Shanaka. A great webinar we had today. And I would like to thank you on behalf of IMECI, the management of Sri Lanka. And there were some hiccups in the start that I didn't have power and I couldn't, connect it properly. So extremely sorry for that. And thank you all the participants who have participated today. And I think, Shanaka, you have touched upon the surface of the the project management, because project management is a vast area where in depth we have to go into. So any audience, if you have any particular areas to be touched upon, we will arrange a separate webinar. And Shanaka, we will come back to you on this. And probably I think our members will come back to me, and you can contact me directly, and I will connect with Shanaka, and with his experience, definitely we will go through all the questions and sort of problems in your mind can be sorted out. So thank you, Shanaka, and I would like to invite Lal also to say some words.
Yes, thank you, Ajit. Shanaka, you did a very good presentation, something which is really required for engineers, especially for young engineers who are doing all these projects. You must use these tools and try to do a project systematically. We have done small project, not big project. Even I have worked at Tudaya Brothers, but they were doing all building projects. But I was in charge for the ready-mix supply. So,
All
but
right.
whatever I did as small projects, I said, whenever I had to put up a plant, I have a schedule. I normally put it in 6 weeks. Some or other, I put a schedule and I finish it on time. As you said, if you delay it, it is more money. So these are very good things. And if I need to get some help in a specific particular project, I certainly come back to you with the help of Ajit. So on behalf of IMECI Sri Lanka Group as chair, I really thank you for taking the time and giving this presentation to all our members and all our members. Thank you very much.
Sure. Thank you very much, Lal. Thank you very much, Ajit. And thank you for all the team. Thank you, Dasun, who connected me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, as final, I would like to thank Dasun and Chula also to arranging the webinar at time. Thank you very much and have a nice day. Thank you and good night. Thank